talk about a major problem that we have not only in the USA but around the world, and that's the keeping of exotic animals such as tigers, lions, even down to monkeys, um, lemurs, all types of animals that you would typically find in a rainforest are now being kept under the pretense of sanctuaries that are not actually accredited sanctuaries. Many of these animals are transported yearly, and I'd like to quote a book from Ethical Pet Ownership. Every day, thousands of animals are in transit from one location to another. Now, when they say from one location to another, they're not just talking about from one zoo maybe to another city a couple hours away. We're talking about worldwide shipments. A lot of zoos and circuses are obtaining animals from breeders in other countries. And not only are they storing them and using them to get tickets from tourism, but they're handling them pretty harshly while in transit. Now, a big issue with this is because they use the animals for entertainment, that the exotic animals are not so easy to acquire, and it's expensive to have shipping done, so they're breeding them at an alarming rate as well. So not only are they taking them out of their environment, but now they're breeding animals in captivity, which are not used to any kind of actual natural wildlife scenario, and therefore that creates a lot of behavioral issues with the animals, and that can go down through generations as they continue to breed. There was actually a local case in which a man in Bloomington was not arrested, but authorities were called because they had a pet capuchin monkey, which is pictured here, and they weren't necessarily abusing the animal, but it was on a leash as if you would see a child nowadays, and it's pretty clear that that is not the natural habitat for a capuchin monkey. So this is something that's a pretty glaring issue. Even though this happened a few years ago, there are still a lot of private residences and zoos that are keeping animals like this, and behind the scenes are treating them like they were a dog or cat. Now, what's wonderful for those who are animal lovers is that there are organizations, such as pictured here, the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries. That's kind of a mouthful. It can be shortened up as just GFAS. They have a great website, and what they're doing is they're going around the country, and they actually perform an official accreditation for sanctuaries. Now, what they're looking for are what the sanctuaries, basically their ethics are towards the animals. They're not saying that they're not allowed to have visitors, but they want it to be done in a proper way. So when these sanctuaries are housing exotic animals, they're not just doing it for the sake of keeping them to where we can view them. These are animals that are rescued from closed down zoos, circuses, and are not going to be able to be released in the wild. As I touched earlier, a lot of behavioral issues come from this breeding. And so rather than those animals just being given up on, they're not given a second chance to have good feeding, proper social life, the best that they can in their situations. And these accredited sanctuaries are going to be the best place for them, rather than, unfortunately, them being euthanized, which is what happens in many cases. Now, all of these organizations, they're lobbying day in and day out for animals, for their rights. There was an Ohio law that was passed that put a ban on animal sales. Now, that sounds wonderful. However, the ban only lasted 90 days. So it didn't give a permanent solution to a lot of these problems that are faced for these animals. Now, the benefit of supporting organizations such as this one is that their staying power is much, much more powerful. Not only are they hiring volunteers that are very, very accredited, they're trained. These aren't people that you're getting coming up and running circus rides in the summer and then taking care of animals the next season. It's just not so simple for a volunteer to get into there. Now, it's very good to go and volunteer for them, but it needs to be understood that you are going to have to learn a lot about these animals, because it's not taking care of your everyday household pet. Now, what is something that we can do, people like yourself, myself, and the average everyday person, is not to go out and break these animals free and try to keep them in your house. The best thing you can do is to research organizations such as this one. I'm going to give this up on screen a little bit so that way you can have a chance to maybe remember it and search it on your own, because the power to save these animals and to develop laws and be an advocate is to do your research in the people that are going out there every day and making it their daily job to find the animals that are in captivity, support them, visit their websites, donate to them. They have job opportunities, which is fantastic. Like I said, it may not be as easy as going down to your local animal shelter and getting signed up to help for a few days, but if you are passionate about helping animals like this who are in crisis day in and day out, this is the best and most efficient way to do it, is to get into these larger organizations that have the accreditation, know how to treat the animals, know the proper scenarios that they need to live in to thrive, and work with those organizations to lobby towards your local congressman to make laws and to really bring to light and educate the world that doesn't see this stuff happening in the background. It's pretty easy for a family of 4 to stop and have a nice petting zoo with a giraffe or a camel, but when they leave, they're not seeing the nightly, daily habits of these animals that are just not natural. And doing research and educating our future generations so that we can kind of phase out the old circus and the old roadside zoo and start giving these animals a more proper life, even if it be the animals that were bred in captivity, give them a more soothing, natural environment for the time that they do have. That is going to be what's mostly important to us. And just to kind of encapsulate everything here, animals, not just in the USA, but around the world, are still in captivity. And there are laws that have been passed, but it is not something that's completely squashed. There are still living creatures that are suffering, and we really need to boost up organizations like this. There's a lot of other organizations that you can find through many popular websites like National Geographic. They do a lot of lobbying for this. And get on there and just, even if you don't want to donate, you can just simply share the stories of all the good things that they're doing through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Nowadays, I can promise all those organizations have access to these things. And really make the information accessible for everybody else, so that way we can kind of bring to light all the good that they're doing and kind of make it more beneficial for everyone else in the future, and as well as these animals.